Recently, Amy Schumer was targeted by a young entertainment reporter who was trying to make a funny joke, but unfortunately missed the mark and came off as a little misogynistic. So the man in question, or the guy in question, is a film critic by the name of Jackson Murphy. And apparently he was at an event for his website called Lights Camera Jackson, and he was talking to Amy Schumer at the Critics' Choice Awards. Well, he took this awesome picture. His father was there with him. Everything was great until the film critic tweeted something about him meeting Amy Schumer. He says, "Spent the night with Amy Schumer, certainly not the first guy to write that, hashtag Critics' Choice Awards." Now,
Lord.
before we rip into him, he's 17.
Yes.
You have to understand that Amy Schumer is a very self-deprecating comedian. That's not to give anyone a green light to say whatever they want to say about her. You can't just be a misogynistic prick because she's self-deprecating. But my sense is that this is a young guy who thought, like, yeah, I'm going to, like, chum it up. I want to get in on the joke, you know?
He did. And again, his age certainly does add some context to it.
Yes.
And I think it was just stupid bro humor. I mean, ultimately, his dick wrote that joke. The testosterone, probably pumping through his veins, and the problem is that, and Amy Schumer's brought this up, that people call her a sex comic, have labeled her as such because she talks openly about sexuality and is really genuine and candid about her experiences. And men do that shit all the time.
Right.
Male comedians are constantly doing that, and they're not called sex comics. But Amy Schumer is labeled a sex comic, and she's like, oh, a guy could come on stage and hold his dick, and everyone would be like, oh, what a intellectual joke.
Yes.
And never receive that kind of, oh, we're gonna specify that all you do is talk about sex.
Yeah, I actually have that quote, and I thought it was a really great quote. She says, "I think it's just because I'm a girl. I feel like a guy could get up here and literally pull his dick out, and everyone would be like, he's a thinker," she joked during her HBO special last year, suggesting that male comics could tell the same jokes without getting labeled the same way.
Exactly.
So I think it's true, and that really goes to the destructiveness of gender roles, societal expectations. Women are supposed to be meek, they're supposed to be demure.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think the fact that, someone like Amy Schumer, with her blonde hair, and she's very beautiful, comes out there and she's just like throwing F-bombs and talking about,
she's just
sex.
being honest.
She's being honest, and I love it. I love it. And I don't believe in this notion that women have to be well-behaved. You're well-behaved, you're not going to succeed at anything.
No, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And this kid should feel lucky. He got a Twitter smackdown from the reigning queen of comedy.
We haven't even gotten to that yet, by the way. I haven't even
you haven't
presented the rest of the story. Sorry, guys. So Amy Schumer did respond to him, and she said, I get it, because I'm a whore. Glad I took a photo with you. Hi to your dad. So I thought the hi to your dad thing was supposed to be some sort of insult, but she apparently met him and his father on the red carpet, so it was actually legitimately.
And probably to shame him a little bit, too. Like, you wrote this joke, and your dad is, like, right there with you. Like,
yes.
Come on, dude.
So he apologized, and this is why I'm giving him a complete pass. He apologized not once but twice. First apology, "I truly apologize, thought you'd like the joke. I should leave the comedy to you. Thanks for the photo, glad you won last night. And also, I truly apologize for the tweet I posted earlier. I'm not a comedian and it wasn't funny." Amy Schumer responded to him and said, "It's really okay, honey. I just remember thinking that you and your dad were sweet, and it was a bummer to read that." So it all
really
ended
humanized the whole situation. And, the media has sort of been talking about this was a teachable moment. And I don't fault her for calling him out because he's young and impressionable. And hopefully this situation will, like this entire interaction that happened online, I think it will be such maybe a traumatic memory for him.
Yes.
But it will really have an impact.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. And I think it raises an interesting question. If a comedian is self-deprecating, meaning that she goes up there and she does her set and she's calling herself a whore and this and that, is it acceptable for other people to chime in on that joke? And I think that context matters. And in this particular case, no. Look, me making fun of, let's say, my culture, Armenians, like making fun of Armenian culture, that doesn't give you a pass to come in and start talking shit about Armenians.
That's why it's called self-deprecation.
Yes.
I get to do it to myself.
Yeah.
Like, you are not, you know, and I think people think, oh, they're like, oh, but black people can say this about black people, or Latinos can say this, or women can say that about, yeah. I'm like, yeah, because that's who we are. And part of the joy of being any kind of minority or being a part of any group or whatever it is that you get to shine that light on yourself.
Yeah.
But when someone else takes the magnifying glass, then you're just like burning my ass down, you
Then
know,
it's just-
like I'm just a
it's
little
just
ant on the
criticism.
sidewalk, and it's not cool. And people don't like that nuance. They don't think it's fair. And I'm like, of course it makes sense. You know, like the line that you cross into slut shaming versus myself discussing openly my sexuality and being willing to make fun of myself, but also in a way that I'm comfortable with. I have the power to decide that. You don't.
Yeah.
So that's the nuance here. People don't always understand it. And,
They don't
you know,
like it.
and this kid definitely got a tutorial.
Yes.
Can I
Yes.
just, I'm sorry. So there's the small aspect of it that, yeah, when you get rich and famous off of doing this, that's your thing. The kid took it as, well, this will be like a haha, yeah, that's your joke. It's not even his joke, as he mentioned. Other guys have said that, but not only her, as you guys put on him, Amy Schumer says it all the time. So if doing it for yourself works, and someone else is like, oh, you're a comedian, you can do it. Where's the comedic line drawn? You know, because I'm sure people who aren't professional comedians have made a joke before, and it was funny. So if you're a comedian, you get 100%, like, you get to be written off and you can say anything you want, but you can also get offended at the same time. So therefore, no one should say anything to comedians, because they either go, that's offensive, or, well, you're not funny enough. Because I've said this before, there's plenty of comedians who say things and I'm like, well, that wasn't funny. Does that mean they're not a comedian anymore? Like,
Yeah.
the line of being a comedian isn't a I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do now. And
yeah,
we get to back them up on that.
No, I agree with you to some extent. I think that in some cases, comedians will make jokes that are xenophobic or racist, and they're not doing it to be funny. They're doing it because they're comedians and they get the pass. And they, like, okay, so...
or they're just pushing they push boundaries to make people think. If someone has the right intentions, which is ultimately like, I want to shine a light on some inequality or some injustice, and I'm going to do that and to make you think.
Yeah.
And be funny at the same time, but also be either offensive or abrasive about it, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I think the context of this situation, though, is the reason Amy was bummed. I mean, he's a 17-year-old kid.
Calling her a whore.
Yeah,
right? Like,
more or less.
So I get,
You know, like that's the context. She's like, yo, you need to slow your roll, bro. Like, you're not even in this league right now. Like, you shouldn't be making these kinds of comments to women.
Yes, and look, I think about, like, there have been cases where I've, like, made fun of my mom's accent when I'm talking to her, like, as a joke, right? Like, I get a pass. Like, that's my mom. I'm doing it as a funny way. That's my family. I love her. That doesn't give anyone else a pass to start making fun of her accent. You know, like, I know the cases are a little different, but even if, let's say I take myself and I make similar jokes that are self-deprecating and I call myself, you know, promiscuous or whatever, I'm not cool with audience members calling me a whore. It's just, it's not okay. And
Right.
Yeah.
I think comedians shouldn't get, they're targets. Comedians should be targets. I think if you're willing to be a comic and say, you know, incendiary things that are hopefully funny and insightful, then, you know, you've opened yourself up to criticism. And generally, they have to take this. I mean, they have to have really thick skin.
Yes.
And I think Amy Schumer does have really thick skin. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure this is not a hair on the ass of the bullshit that comes into her Twitter feed, right?
Right.
Really heinous stuff. I cannot imagine, because she's opened herself up to that. I think in this situation, she saw a moment where she was like, this kid's actually probably well-intentioned and sweet. If I say something here, then maybe I can, like, you know, really impact the way he interacts with women in the future.
Yeah.
And that's cool.